All right, well, I think we can get started here. By way of introduction, we have Greg Rohan, Heritage Auctions President, who needs little introduction. Heritage is well known as one of the largest auction houses in the world, has a robust electronic platform that's been extended to many other product lines. Comic books especially have been growing like mad the last year. And of course, Heritage maintains a very strong presence in numismatics and continues to bring new properties to the market. Greg will be talking about the impact of the epidemic on numismatics and where it's taken us the last 6 months and where we're going to be going. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Len. And thank you, Liana, also for putting this symposium together. And of course, thank you to the Eric Newman Foundation for making it all possible. All of us at Heritage have a very soft spot for the Eric Newman Foundation because we were honored, really one of the greatest honors of our life, to be able to sell Eric Newman's unbelievable world-class coin collection with the proceeds going to the Eric Newman Foundation. So we have a lovely history with Eric Newman's family and with the foundation, and I'm delighted to be visiting today and talking about the effect of COVID on the numismatic marketplace. I know that you have viewers from all over the world, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're joining us from today. It has indeed been a very interesting time. It's been a very interesting time. During, I guess, COVID started right at the beginning of March. I divide my time, I'm based in Heritage's New York City office, and I live in both New York City and in Dallas, where our headquarters is. And I had just left New York at the end of February and was planning to come back the first week in March. And of course, that didn't happen. I've only been there 2 days in the last 6 months. Longest I've been away in 25 years. For the people who don't know me, a little bit about myself. I started in coins, buying and selling coins in my hometown of Seattle when I was 8 years old. A neighbor lady next door to me gave me a Whitman penny book and a very large jar of pennies. She was quite elderly, and the pennies really went a long way towards filling up my first Whitman penny album. Both my partner Steve Ivy and I had similar routes, and we like to say when people asked us, well, gosh, what did you do before you were in the coin business? We say, well, we were in 3rd grade. And it's true. I started taking the bus into downtown Seattle, finding out which pennies my friends at school who had bigger allowances than I did. My parents were normal working people, so I didn't come from any great resources. And but some of the kids at school had bigger allowances. And so I would see what pennies they needed for their books. This is the late 1960s. And take the bus and go into a coin shop and buy pennies for a quarter and take them to school the next day and sell them for 50 cents to kids who needed them for their sets. And it helped me build my coin collection. And by 11 years old, a teacher was setting up at the Seattle Center Coin Show and asked me if I would share the table with him because I was buying and selling coins and running little tiny classified ads in Coin World. And at that time, the bourse fees were $12. And so for $6, I got a showcase, which my dad made for me on the side of the bourse table. I was an industrious, nerdy kid, mowing lawns and babysitting to make money to put into my fledgling and growing coin business. And by the time I was 15 years old, had full page ads in Coin World and was doing really well. So I joined Heritage 33 years ago. I was 25 years old. I came to be the coin buyer and coin grader with Jim Halpern. I worked at PCGS at the time. They were just getting into business. They'd been in business for about a year, but they thought that I was a pretty decent coin grader. So that was by way of my background. So I joined Heritage 33 years ago, and at that time we were a company, about 50 or 60 employees and about $50 or $60 million a year in business. We were the largest coin company in the world even then, but not the largest auction company in numismatics, but the largest coin company. So it's been quite an amazing rise in time. In the mid-1990s, we started our first website. And today that website has 1.2 1.25 million members in all 195 countries. And that really was a huge game changer for us. So that's my background. That's where I'm from, and really have kind of the numismatist dream come true career trajectory, and I'm grateful for it every day. So let's talk about COVID and the effect that it's had on the numismatic marketplace, because that's what I was asked to talk about today. Well, the biggest effect it had on Heritage when it all started was we were in the process of moving. Our headquarters in Dallas had grown over the last 17 years, and our 500 employees in Dallas were housed in 4 different locations, all about 10 or 15 minutes apart from each other. And it was not terribly efficient because it was cobbled together over about 8 different leases. We had the opportunity to build our own state-of-the-art space from the ground up, literally. It was a new development on DFW airport property, and it is 160,000 square feet. It's the length of 3 football fields. It's all under one roof, and we have everybody in one place for the first time. And I absolutely love it, and I invite every one of our numismatist clients and every one of you who are watching today to visit us in our new headquarters in Dallas. We do need appointments because of social distancing and the need to make sure that everybody follows all the rules that are currently in place for visiting in a public place. But it's a wonderful location, but we were trying to get moved during COVID, and we were hundreds of construction workers and lots of slowdowns, materials that were supposed to be coming from Europe, and electronics and cables, all kinds of infrastructure things. We really only ended up being about a few weeks late moving in, but my hat's off to all the Heritage staff. I had nothing to do with it, who made it possible for us to move in. But it was a big challenge. The big change that we've seen since COVID is the virtual elimination of coin shows. Really, I know there's some small 10, 20 dealer shows that are happening across the country, but for the most part, there's really been just a total elimination of coin shows and of live auctions that go with the shows. I'll talk a little bit more about the live auctions that we've had to eliminate, and Central States and ANA, and what we did about that as I get further along. But one of the big pluses throughout all of this has been a huge increase in online participation. The price of gold certainly hasn't hurt, even though most people buy coins that have an intrinsic value that's very minimal compared to the value of the coin. Psychologically and marketplace-wise, when gold gets near $2,000 an ounce, a lot of people wake up and they start looking at gold coins, and then when they start looking at gold coins, they start looking at silver coins, and they're looking at coins in general. So that's been the biggest thing, is the elimination of shows, the elimination of person-to-person interaction, person-to-person working with clients to bring in collections to sell in the future. All the person-to-person aspect has been really eliminated. And I'll talk more about how we handle that day-to-day, putting on auctions and dealing with consigners and dealing with bidders, not being able to do so in person as we've been used to for our entire life. So before COVID started, the coin market was already softening a bit. And the reason for that is, well, markets have cycles. Coin market's no different. The market has up cycles, it has down cycles, it has flat cycles. And before COVID, the coin market was in a bit of a down cycle. And the reason for that, I think, is, well, a number of collectors that either sold their collections or passed away. And I'm talking about people like Gene Gardner, Brent Pogue, Joe Thomas, the Greensboro collector. Bruce Moreland is now selling his collection. Bob Simpson, who we'll talk a little bit more about later, is redirecting his collecting efforts. So not only are those coins coming on the market, they've come on the market, but those collectors are not competing often with each other for coins in the auctions. And so that causes a bit of a dampening of prices. Fortunately, the stock market has been robust. So a lot of people who who judge their wealth or their how comfortable they are spending money by looking at their brokerage statements. Those people have felt more comfortable buying coins. So it was just very, very minimal, the downward trajectory. I will say that engagement, oh gosh, engagement, from people being home, people being bored, I know myself, I worked on my hobbies a lot more than I'd ever spent time doing when I was home, before I completely got bored out of my mind and tried to work at home with the dog barking in the background. And my wife works from home, and finally just went to the office and locked myself in my office door when virtually nobody was there. But we track engagement, and engagement from our clients during the COVID time. We have seen a 28% increase in engagement, a 28% increase in the number of people viewing auction lots, in the number of people participating in auctions, in the number of page views that we get on HA Live on all the items that are up for auction. I would say that one of the big pluses, well, I know in the currency, and I talked to Dustin Johnston, who is our currency director. One of the big pluses for the currency market, and we'll talk about world coins and currency and US coins today, but one of the big pluses for the currency market has been that people have had more time on their hands to research alternatives, to research other areas, to get interested in other areas of collecting. And that has really supported prices, and in many cases, driven prices up. I know I collect national currency on my home state of Washington, and I've spent more time since March playing with my collection and than I have in the last 2 years combined. I also collect banking ephemera, having to do with national banknotes, postcards of the banks themselves. I've organized them. I've noticed that I have duplicates and triplicates that I didn't know that I had. And so I know that if I'm spending more time with my collection, and that our clients are as well. And so that has caused increased activity. People going online and bidding on things that they know that they want, looking for things that are connected to areas that they already collect. So that's been a big plus for us. When we launched our website in the mid-1990s, we launched HA.com. We had no idea that pre-COVID, 95 to 98% of the bids that come in that are placed in our auctions would be placed online. So as Len said, coins are by far Heritage's biggest business. My partners, we all started in coins as kids, and that's our love. We also collect other things as well, and that's helped spur our growth into other collecting categories. But when we launched HA.com in 1996, we quickly discovered that the world literally was beating a path to our door, and liked the platform, and liked the fact that they could be anywhere in the world bidding from their sofa or their airplane or their boat or their backyard. They didn't have to fly to the auction. They didn't have to spend money going to a sale and sitting through hours and hours and hours of auction sessions. They didn't care about waiting for 1 or 2 items to come up that they were interested in. And it really leveled the playing field. All of a sudden, everybody around the world, from the most beginning collector to the most advanced collector to the most sophisticated dealer, were all on a level playing field bidding online, to a point now where, like I said, 95 to 98% of the bids placed in Heritage auctions are placed online. So COVID for Heritage hasn't really affected in any appreciably negative way our business at all. If anything, it's driven more traffic to our site and more people to our auctions. In April, the first big coin auction that we had scheduled since COVID started was, of course, Central States, and Central States canceled the coin show. So we couldn't hold the auction in suburban Chicago like we had planned to. So we moved it to Dallas. Fortunately, in our new headquarters, where we have an auction room, we have an 8,000 square foot exhibition area, but nobody could come because there were rules against assembly. So we did everything online. And by the time we were done with our Central States auction, which would have been the Central States auction, 6,800 people, more than 6,800 people had placed bids in the auction. And that's coins, currency, and world coins. We sold $33 million in that auction, and 97% of the lots sold. So not a single person viewed the lots in person. Not a single person came and bid in person. Everybody looked at the lots online, and everybody placed their bids online. And it worked beautifully. Consigners were happy, bidders were happy, we were happy. There was no need to take 75 of our staff members on the road to Brink's, millions and millions of dollars worth of coins and notes to Chicago. There was no reason to put 75 people on airplanes and put them up in hotel rooms and feed them. Everybody got to go home and be with their families each evening when the auction was over. But it really worked beautifully. And we couldn't be happier with that. There was another week during COVID that we had, and I digress for a second, but at Heritage we have 41 auction categories. So coins are by far the biggest, but there's also auction categories in all the collecting fields, from fine art to jewelry to rare books to sports collectibles, $1 million comic books, $1 million baseball cards, but also ones that are $50 and $100. Really something for every type of collector. And there was one week so far during COVID where we had auction sessions in 6 or 7 different categories. At the end of 1 week of auction sessions, we had sold more than $50 million. No one bid in person. More than 40,000 people registered online and looked at lots. So like 40,000 people coming through your front door, but they came into our virtual front door to look at lots. And of those 40,000 people, more than 16,000 of them placed bids, all online. When the week was over, more than 95% of the lots had sold, and we had sold more than $50 million worth of property for hundreds of different consigners. It was astonishing, and really showed us that we were, on the right path when we built the platform and went to online auctions as a good complement to the floor session auctions. Now, that's all the good news. There have been challenges. There have been a lot of challenges dealing with COVID. So far, the good news for us as an auction company has been that all these wonderful sales that we've had of all this wonderful property is all property that we brought in from consigners before COVID started. So we are constantly running 3 to 6 months out, sometimes 1 or 2 months out, but during COVID in March, we should be out meeting with people, going to their homes, going to their banks, going to their offices, and talking to them about property that they want to sell this summer or in the fall. Except nobody wants you to come to their home. None of our staff wanted to get on airplanes. Banks were closed. Law firms were closed that were handling estates. So we go through March and April and May with not very much property coming in. So we're going, oh my gosh, we had a good first part of the year, but the rent goes on for the last part of the year. What are we going to do? So we got a little bit creative. And one thing that we did was we started doing Zoom conferences with our clients, with their families, with their lawyers. We would send Brinks or a Brinks equivalent to their bank, to their home, and we would show them by Zoom how to pack the package themselves and have it insured and put the seals on and put the locks on and hand it to the Brinks driver so that the insurance was in place immediately. And that way the coins and the notes got their way to Dallas so that people could sell them like they wanted to in a timely fashion. That was a bit of a challenge, but we worked through it. I went on a trip myself. We're selling a a really wonderful coin collection here in the next week or so from the original gold bug, Jim Dines, who's published the Dines letter, hard money letter, forecaster of gold prices. Jim Dines has built a lovely coin collection. He's along in years now, and he wants to sell the coin collection. So I flew to San Francisco to meet with him. But before I went, I said, now, a lot of the banks are closed. Please make sure the banks are open for when we go to your safe deposit boxes, we can get in. And he assured me that everything was good, that the banks were good, everything was fine. And I get to San Francisco and everything wasn't fine. The banks were open, but we didn't have an appointment for the safe deposit area. Now, he had been banking at these institutions for 50 years, had never needed an appointment in his life to go into a safe deposit box, and we got shut out. We were supposed to go to multiple banks. I had the security company, I had the armored car company, staff, everybody lined up, our little parade to go to each bank and pick up all the millions of dollars in beautiful coins that he had, and it was a complete skunk, waste of time. The airlines were really helpful during that time. They cut out about 2/3 of their flights. So the last flight leaving San Francisco to go back to Dallas was now at noon. So what should have been a 1.5-day trip was a 3-day trip, all for nothing. We accomplished absolutely zero. So 3 days, go back to Dallas, start over. He makes plans, makes appointments for us to get into the safe deposit boxes. The banks all confirm that we can get into the boxes, and I rebook my flight and head back out to San Francisco. We get the guards, we get the armored car company, we get the staff, everybody starts the parade to the bank, and it's the day of the protest marches. And all the banks in San Francisco shut down. All the businesses shut down because of the protest marches. And they stayed shut down for the rest of the week. Yep, 3 more days, absolute, complete waste of time. Back to Dallas after cooling my heels in my hotel room, returning emails and phone calls. So we did end up picking up the collection, but it took 5 times longer and way more effort and expense than it ever should have before this. So the real issue also, of course, in our office in New York City and our office in Chicago and San Francisco and Los Angeles is that they're closed. Oftentimes people want to come in. They want to bring the coins in themselves. They want to bring the banknotes in themselves. They want to look you in the eye. They want you to go through the notes and tell them what you got. Well, that wasn't possible. Now recently we have changed to appointment only in some of those locations that are still closed, and people are making appointments, and so that's been good. But we have been doing an awful lot of Zoom conferences. I never knew what Zoom was 6 months ago. I'd never heard of it. And now I and all of our professional numismatic staff have been on Zoom constantly with clients who also had never used Zoom 6 months ago. And so that's been a new experience for us. International travel. I spoke to Chris Bierenbach, who is our director of our WorldCoin department. And, excuse me. And Chris was telling me that that international travel, of course, is non-existent, which has made for a shortage of good material that is coming on the market. That's been really good for the world coin market. The demand for really good, high quality world coins, especially 19th and 20th century British coins, Chinese coins, French coins, really, really strong with worldwide demand in those areas. Our Hong Kong auction that we had in June of this year was our best Hong Kong auction ever, and nobody was there in person. The world coin market is so good in an area where no one can travel internationally that we have added another Platinum Night session to our calendar this year for October. It's been years since we have added a Platinum Night session to our calendar, but there's so much demand and so much interest in the highest quality world coins from clients literally around the world that we have added another Platinum Night for October. Currency, back to currency, the entry point on currency is lower than coins. So people who had previously, there's not a big stretch to go from coins to currency. A lot of people start collecting coins and then they move to currency. And the entry point, the dollar entry point is lower on currency than it is on coins. The strongest areas in currency right now are for problem-free notes, notes that are really nice looking and pretty for the grade. And I don't mean gem notes. I mean, it could be what I call a gem VF. Like somebody says, what are you talking about? I feel like a Mint State 70 VF. And that's a note that has good color. It hasn't been repaired. It doesn't have any rust on it. It's got nice signatures. I'd rather have a note like that than a note that's AU, but the signatures have faded off, or it's got some other problem to it. It's the wrong color, or it was pressed at one point. Maybe they don't even grade them AU. But I would rather have a really beautiful circulated example than a really ugly Mint State example. And I think the same goes for coins. That's all personal preference, of course. The notes that are where the prices are down presently are notes where people have, with time on their hands now, have discovered there are a lot of nice notes that come on the market during the course of a year. So if you were thinking about buying a note that was VF or XF, and with your added time, because you're working from home, you've discovered by going online and seeing that really a Mint State example for not that much more money comes on the market half a dozen times a year, you're going to wait. And you're not going to buy the circulated example. You're going to wait and buy the nicer example for marginally more money. And so that's caused a softening in the prices of what we call buses. The buses, another one will come along. And so the things that are the most common in currency have gone down in price, whereas the nice notes have remained stable, or even in some cases increased in price. US coins. We should talk about US coins, of course. And the strongest area, of course, are US coins whose value is related to their metal content. So gold coins that are fairly close. They're numismatic gold coins, but they're fairly close to bullion value. Of course, because the bullion price is near $2,000 an ounce for gold, the value of those coins has gone up during this whole COVID time. Other areas of the US coin market that are really strong, early bus dollars. We see a lot of interest in early bus dollars. Big silver dollars. Silver dollars have always been popular, and I've always thought that bus dollars are a little overlooked. They're not overlooked right now. They're very popular, and they're doing very well, and there's a lot of people who are collecting early bus dollars. Same true for matte-proof gold coins. The surfaces on matte-proof gold coins are very fragile, and there are a lot of very passionate collectors for those coins and very active collectors, and the market is very vibrant for matte-proof gold coins at the present time. Let's see, another area that I see a lot of strength in right now are $20 St. Gaudens. $20 St. Gaudens is a set to put together. You've got to have a few bucks to do it, but you can put together a set of $20 St. Gaudens. And there happens to be a lot of people who are trying to complete a set of $20 Saints. And this has been the case for a number of years now. And there's been, we sold the Rollo Fox collection earlier this year of $20 Saints and set record prices. And some of those coins have even traded for more since then. So rare $20 Saints in high grade, very, very popular presently. There's some areas in the market that are down. Some areas that are down slightly and some areas that are down stronger. There was an auction, not at Heritage, of nice copper coins recently, and we thought that the prices were very, very weak in that. And I think that the reason that the prices were weak is that so many of the copper collectors who aged out, maybe that's the right term, have sold their collections. Really wonderful people who so enjoyed decades of collecting beautiful early copper coins over the last few years have sold their coins. They've either moved into other areas like Walt Husak or like Dan Holmes, they've passed away. Other people sold their copper collections because of age or changing interests. But the copper market seems pretty weak to me right now. A lot of great collections have been sold. It'll come back. It always does. You know, I talked earlier about cycles, and right now the copper market is in a weak cycle. If you've got an interest in a love for collecting early copper coins, want to be part of a fraternity, and I think there's no better fraternity in numismatics than EAC, now is certainly a good time from a cost standpoint. Mega rarities, boy, coins $100,000 and up. They're all over the map. I think that there's some weakness there. There's weakness there, but there's also record price strength. I know that sounds neurotic, but there is so much demand from collectors for the really, really rare coins, the coins that they don't think are going to come along again anytime soon. And I think those coins are very strong, but I think that some coins where people can wait, or they think another one's going to come along, you know, in the next year or two, some of those coins are weak. Maybe some of them are off even 20 or 30%. But that's temporary. You know, like I say, everything goes through cycles. A lot of collectors, you know, I hear a lot about the graying of the hobby. You know, a lot of gray hair in the hobby, and that, you know, what's the future of coin collecting? My kids love baseball cards. I can't get them interested in coins. They like Pokemon, or they like this, that, or the other thing, video games, but they're not interested in coins. Well, fortunately, I could tell you that while it is harder to get kids engaged in coins, there is a very, very strong and diverse group of collectors who were, well, the ones that I know, who are in their 40s to their 70s. I'm kind of in the middle there. Who were like me, who were, you know, nerdy kids who collected coins as a child, and now they made money in technology or in finance, real estate, you know, those type of businesses. They've come back, and they've come back really strong, and they've come back as some of the biggest collectors bidding on $1 million coins and big coins. But if it's something that's fairly common and is just expensive, that's going to sell for probably less now than it was, you know, pre-COVID. But there's a number of really exciting big coins coming up soon here. I mentioned the Don Partridge collection that we're going to be selling over a number of sales. What an extraordinary collection of colonials that is. And of course the MS-65 Brasher doubloon, which had never been certified before, which Don Partridge bought out of Garrett, the Garrett auction in 1979. I attended the Garrett 2 auction in 1980 when I was 17 years old. But Don Partridge had bought this Brasher doubloon that I had the pleasure of holding in my hand just a couple weeks ago. And what an extraordinary coin it is. Mint State 65 with a star. Bob Simpson. Bob Simpson is synonymous with high-grade, amazing coins. He's one of the primary owners of the Texas Rangers baseball team. And Bob has been a friend of mine for 20 years. And he has bought and sold coins along the way. He's changed his collecting focuses along the way. He's sold some things. He's bought more new things as he continues to build collections, complete collections, and move in different direction. And so starting here in September, we are starting the first of a series of Bob Simpson auctions spanning into August of next year. And anybody who wants to see a complete list of those coins can look at ha.com/Simpson and get a feel for it. First of all, it's the most extraordinary collection of patterns. And Bob has kept most all of his gold patterns, but the patterns that he's selling are nothing short of world class, just the best coins and the best quality. First auction, there's an 1894 S dime in proof 66. What a fabulous coin that is. I expect that coin to be very strong because there hasn't been a good one on the market in quite a while, and can't get really any better than a proof 66. So the kind of circling back around, to where we started. This is interesting doing this without an audience that I can actually see. I've done these talks at an ANA before and at Central States and had fun, and I can look at the audience and see people that I know and talk about things in particular, but I hope I'm not talking too fast here into the computer. The COVID has brought its challenges, and most of the challenges have been when you need to meet with someone in person, and it has made everyone more creative using their computer, using their tablets, using apps like Zoom and Teams, but it hasn't really had a negative effect on the marketplace. I think the coin market, the world coin market is as good as it's ever been. The currency market is wonderful because of all the time people have had to do research and the low cost of entry. And the US coin market has always run in cycles. It was already on a bit of a downward cycle. And we see prices that are a little bit lower than we expected in auctions that are occurring every day. But we also see world record prices being achieved with 10 times the number of bidders on a coin that has not come up for sale in a long time, and who knows when the next one's going to come along. So we have at Heritage, we had during the week of what it would have been ANA, we had an invitational coin show. We have in our new space an 8,000 square foot exhibition room. And adjacent to that are multiple individual conference rooms. And adjacent to that are auction rooms. And so we invited, about 50 or 60 very active coin dealers to come and set up, to wear masks wherever they were on the premises. They have to have their temperature taken every day when they came into the building. We had special plexiglass barriers put up at every booth, but the attendance and the interest was really good, as were the prices in the auction. We had auction lot viewing there. We've had a number of collector clients make appointments to come in, and following the social distancing and sanitary rules that are in place. I was very proud. We had a client come in recently who had bought some items in another category, and he identified himself as the president of the Texas Hospital Association. And he said that Heritage was a model for how every business should be conducting business during COVID to reduce the chance of spreading this disease. And I was very proud of that, because we spend a lot of time. We take every one of our employees comes in and has their temperature taken every morning. Every single employee gets a brand new N95 mask every single day when they walk in the door. We have a lot of people working from home. Thank heavens we are so technology driven that our staff can do cataloging from home. They can write ads from home. They can do press releases, public relations from home and remotely. And I'm just immensely proud of every one of the Heritage staff members around the world. We have 12 offices around the world and about 600 members of our family. And everybody has really, risen to the occasion and done what's necessary to react and change the way we do business. I look forward to when coin shows return. I don't know what that'll look like or when it will be. I know I enjoy the social aspect. I've been going to coin shows. I've been going to coin shows since I was 11 years old. And I love seeing my friends. I told my wife once that if I ever retired from this business, I would still go to some coin shows every year just to see my friends. And I know a lot of people feel the same way. So there is the social aspect, which I think we're all missing. But the business aspect, at least from Heritage's standpoint, is status quo and is very, very solid and very good. And I'm proud of that, and I'm happy about that. I'm happy to take questions. We've gone for about 40 minutes now of me rambling on.
Okay, we've got a number of questions online. A number of these have to do with the future relationship of the auction companies and the trade shows. Now, you talked about the tremendous savings that you had not having to go set up at Central States and so forth. How do you see that playing out in the future?
I think coin shows are important. I think the sense of community is important. I think the camaraderie is important. I think it's important for people to get together in person and trade information and share information. And I think that there's a place for auctions or auction viewing at coin shows. I don't know what that looks like going forward. I can't imagine that we wouldn't want to continue to be involved in some aspect. I just don't know what that is right now.
All right, another question. You were getting 95% of your bids online. Can you break that down between the ones that are entered live dynamically during the auctions and the ones that come in beforehand?
The majority, I don't know the exact numbers, but the majority of them are, well, honestly, I don't know. I don't know what the breakdown is. All I know is that I can tell you that people come to the auction in person sometimes and look at the lots during the day and then go back to their hotel room and bid online from their hotel room across the street from where the auction is taking place. And they do that so that they can conduct other business or eat dinner or watch TV or do whatever doesn't involve sitting for hours waiting for 1 or 2 or 3 coins or notes to come up. But I don't know what the breakdown is from the number of people that place bids online before the auction starts and place bids while the auction's going on.
And we have another question on the ancient coin market, and has that followed the world coin market, or what's going on there?
Yeah, we had the Morse collection. Great question. The Morse collection of ancient coins, which is one of the best collections of ancient coins that have been put together in a while. Sam Spiegel and Sarah Miller worked on that diligently and for a long time. And that auction, we sold those coins over more than a year. And I think that the quality and the rarity of those coins all coming on the market, all unreserved, they brought great prices. But one thing we saw is that they also helped bring new collectors into the ancient coin market. And we oftentimes see that when there's a new, fresh collection, hasn't been on the market in a long time, and it's interesting and it's spaced out so that people can plan their budgets. Oftentimes we get a lot of new collectors, and that's certainly been the case in ancient coins. Certified grading has also helped out a lot. A lot of people poo-poo certified grading for ancient coins. Well, a lot of people poo-pooed it for American coins, you know, in the 1980s before, when it first got started. How'd that turn out?
All right, we have a question of if Heritage the writer says they see a lot of ads for employment, and are some of those jobs remote?
I think you should ask us. I think you should, if there's a job that you think you're qualified for and you'd like to do, but you need to do it remotely, please ask. Doesn't hurt to ask. We have a lot of people that work remotely for us. I know we have remote catalogers, and we have people that do remote work in other areas as well. So we'd love to hear from you.
All right, we have a question on grading and the impact of small grading differences resulting in huge price differences. And, you know, is this something that an investor should be concerned about, and what kind of protections are out there or should be out there?
Well, I don't think there should be I don't know what kind of protections you mean. I mean, the marketplace is a free marketplace, and people are free to pay whatever they want to, especially in a public auction for something. If I was giving someone advice on collecting, and I looked at an MS-65 coin being $1,000, and an MS-66 being $2,000, and an MS-67 being $12,000, I would say that the MS-66 was the coin to buy, because between 65 and 66, there's very little spread. So there's a ceiling on the 66 price on what a 65 could ever possibly go up to, whereas there's a huge spread between 66 and 67. So in my mind, the 66 would be the better value. Now, there's a lot of people who want the best, the absolute best, and they're willing to pay for it. And so that's a different way of collecting. You can collect either looking for the best value or the best coin, and sometimes they're not the same one.
All right, we have a question about Heritage. They note that Heritage is large and is doing well. Are smaller dealers also doing similarly well?
I know from talking to my friends, many of whom are single sole proprietors, that they are they've had to adapt, of course, when the grading services were closed down. That put a bit of a crimp in their business because they weren't getting coins back. They had bought the coins. Sometimes they bought them on credit and they sent them in for grading. And then the grading services shut down and their bills came due and they didn't have the coins to sell. So that put a bit of a crimp in their business. Certainly the gold going up has helped in a lot of areas. Most smaller dealers don't hedge their gold coins. And so their gold coins increased in value while they were sitting on the shelf. So, you know, I think it's a little bit across the board. You know, people that have coin shops, if the coin shop's open, I know there's been a lot of activity. You call a coin shop now and they've got so many people coming in their front door because of the gold and silver prices going up that they see on the evening news that they don't have time to even talk to you about, you know, regular, normal rare coin business. So I think it's solid, but there certainly are some weaknesses on people that rely on people coming in and doing business. I think if it wasn't for the surge in metals prices, coin shops would see a lot less people coming in the door because a lot of older people who make up the people who have collections that they're selling are not going out, and for very good reason. They are in the highest risk category.
And we have another question. What's your take on artificial intelligence and machine learning with respect to coins and paper money in terms of grading, fraud detection, pricing, selling?
I'm not really the right person to ask about artificial intelligence. You know, I know what I know and I know what I don't know. I don't know very much about artificial intelligence. I know some of my partners, thank heavens, know a lot about it. I can tell you as far as grading goes, for coins, as an example, I graded at PCGS in the 1980s, in the mid 80s. You know, there's a lot that goes into the eye and having a lot of experience. And you look at strike, you look at luster, you look at toning, you look at placement of bag marks, you look at placement of striations, you look at placement of rim nicks. You know, the obverse of the coin is called the money side. And that's the side that you want to look the best. And I think, you know, I certainly could be wrong on this, but, you know, I think it's going to be challenging for a computer to take all of those different areas that go into formulating an opinion on a grade of a coin and be able to do it. I will be, but I've been proven wrong on that before. I am a numismatist my entire life. I have always looked at coins. I've always loved looking at coins. I've always evaluated a coin by looking through the toning and deciding whether the toning was a positive or a negative. If it's really dark, it's a negative. If it's beautiful, I think it's positive. And I will be interested to see during my lifetime what happens with AI.
I'll chime in here. I know in the field of radiology, they're already using computers to some extent, but it's not replacing the doctors. It's as an assist or as additional information. And I think we might see that same evolution in coins.
Yep, very, very true.
All right, another question. Considering the success you've had with the all virtual auctions, would you consider downscaling your in-person presence at future numismatic events?
You know, it's certainly something we have to look at. If it's not necessary to have a successful auction, which it's not, we've clearly proven that you don't have to have the lot viewing and the auction at a coin show for it to be hugely successful. However, it is important for numismatics in general, I think, to have big coin shows for all the reasons I just gave, for the sharing of knowledge, for the exhibits, for the camaraderie, for the business that takes place and the social interaction that takes place. So, you know, what that means as far as what it looks like for the auction landscape, you know, I can't imagine that we wouldn't still want to be involved in some way. I just don't know what it looks like because now we've seen that it's not necessary from a pure business standpoint.
All right, next question. Do you think the lack of in-person lot viewing has affected the prices on some of the lots? Dealers looking for upgrades, so-called crack-out artists, or collectors that want to look at a coin in hand before they commit to bidding on it?
So that is a great question, and for that exact reason, all of the collectors who want to look at something, we have made those coins available to them. We have sent them to our remote offices, to New York, to Beverly Hills, to San Francisco, for them to come in and look at. Of course, you know, masked and temperature taken. We've also made appointments for any collectors that want to come to look at auction lots in person, any dealers that want to look at lots in person to be able to come. The great part about our new location, and of course, we planned it a year ago, so who would have known that we would be dealing with this today. But our new location is literally on DFW airport property. You can walk out of the terminal and be in our front door in 5 or 10 minutes. So Dallas is an inexpensive place to fly to. It's an easy place to fly to. It's in the center of the country. Anybody can come in that day and be back home the same day, assuming the airlines are, have decent schedules or something close to what they had before. But there's hotels surrounding our office, of course, because we are at the airport, and there's hotels in every price range, from very inexpensive to very lovely. And so we've heard from people, collectors and dealers alike, who have come in that they really love the experience. So they don't need to bid in person, and we can accommodate people to look, collectors, dealers alike, in private rooms with an appointment, no problem whatsoever.
Next question. In regions of the world more affected by COVID, have you seen a more noticeable impact with respect to engagement as compared to other regions with fewer COVID cases?
Not really, no, because there's so many people that have tested positive for COVID, but they're asymptomatic, and so they're home for 14 days at least, and they are engaged with their hobby, and they're not in a hospital room. So.
All right. Any thoughts on the present national coin shortage and possible impact on numismatics?
Oh, I hadn't really thought about that. The coin shortage, as far as coins in circulation. There was an article the New York Times did just recently that my colleague Sarah Miller in our New York office commented on about people that have collected state quarters and other things over the years. Anything that puts coins in the news is good. I think that if people think, oh my gosh, we're going to eliminate coins, or are probably the same people that when the Kindle came out thought we're going to eliminate books.
All right, we have a loaded question here. I'm really looking forward to hearing your answer. They ask, what are the differences between PCGS and NGC standards?
The difference in their standards, I don't know, I think you'd have to ask them that question, or submit coins to both services and see, see what you think. And then of course there's CAC, can't forget them, who look at the coins and say, this coin is solid for the grade, this coin is high end for the grade. There's the different grading services, of course, there's differences. They look at things a little bit differently. There's the set registry that PCGS has, which I think was the second greatest invention in numismatics after the creation of third-party grading itself. And NGC has set registries as well, and they include all types of coins in their set registries. I love things that both grading services are doing. I'm not trying to walk the middle line here, but I have great respect for both grading services and for the people that are running both services. I know that at our invitational coin show that we had during the week of ANA that didn't occur, Mark Salzberg himself, who's certainly one of the finest coin graders ever to grade coins, brought his whole staff to Dallas and set up in our location for people to bring coins in and have them graded. How much better can you get than that? And I believe PCGS has done the same thing at other locations. So they're really trying to get out there and be back amongst their customers.
All right. Another collector notes that many of his coins were graded by PCGS about 30 years ago, and Are there noticeable differences in the grading then versus today, and would that impact sale prices at auction?
It's a wonderful question, and there absolutely is. Coins that are in the old green, and when I say old green, when PCGS first started grading coins, when I graded there, the inserts were green. And so they're called OGH, old green holders. And I will say that, and I think PCGS would admit this today, that coin grading was more conservative. It was very conservative when they first started. There was almost a mindset. So I grew up in an era where there was a coin was before certified grading, where a coin was BU, choice BU, or gem BU. And a BU coin might be $100, and one that somebody thought was choice might be 110, and one that somebody thought was gem might be 125. That was literally the kind of price spread there was. People like Don Partrick and Eric Newman, who had fabulous eyes for numismatics and could tell the difference between a gem and a regular coin, certainly took full advantage by buying amazing coins for just nominal premiums over what a basic example would sell for. Len, can you ask me the question again? I've lost my train of thought.
I think the question was.
Oh, the old grain holders, the grading from the grading from 30 years ago. So when PCGS started, I think there was a mindset that the grading scale almost ended at 65 and not at 7. You really didn't think. I know when I was in the grading room there, you really didn't think that much about a coin being a 66 or a 67, a 68 or a 69. And those are, of course, with a 70-point grading scale, there is a coin that is 69. We had a coin of Bob Simpson's just last week regrade from proof 68 to proof 69. The coin's virtually flawless, of course, as a 69. So I think PCGS was too conservative. They definitely were too conservative 30 years ago. And because of that, coins that are in the old grain holders get a really serious look by people today. So collectors pay premiums for them. Dealers look at them to see if they think they would grade 1 or even 2 grades higher than what they did before. No way should you ever sell old grain holder coins any way but at public auction, where they will sell one at a time to the one person willing to pay more than everybody else. At least you can go to bed knowing that no one else is willing to pay one bid more. So you shouldn't sell it to anybody outright, not even us. You should always auction those coins. And we can help you. The auction company wants to get the most money for your coins, because even though you get the vast majority of it, the more money the auction company gets for the coin, the more commission they earn in the terms of buyer's premiums and whatnot. So sometimes we'll look at a coin on an old green holder and say, let's just send this to CAC and get a green sticker or a gold sticker on it and sell it as is. Or we might say, this coin could really increase in grade, and it would be the finest known then, and we're better off sending it to the grading service under their guaranteed regrade program, having them take a look at it again and raise the grade if under the present grading standards the coin merits a higher grade. And so we look at it for that too. So sometimes we think it'll bring more money leaving it in the old holder. Sometimes we think it'll do better being regraded and put in a higher grade holder currently. Every decision is one coin at a time.
Right. And the follow-up question on the blue inserts from the 1990s and some of the other earlier holders as well that might not be the green tags.
Same advice. Same advice.
Yeah.
You never know what something is going to bring until you put it out there and let bidders go at it from the four corners of the world.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Greg. This has been a great inside look at what's going on at Heritage and the overall coin market. And I think the person who owns the PCGS coins from the 1980s, I think you just made him a lot of money, so he'll be happy. And thank you for sharing with us today.
Len, thank you so much, and thanks to everybody at the Newman Numismatic Portal for putting this all together. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. And thanks for all of you who submitted questions and watched today.
Thank you.
Thanks.